Hi, my name is Phil Comer and I'm at the Outdoors by Design Nursery in Shelton, Washington, and I'm going to demonstrate how to divide a clumping bamboo. Well, the first thing you want to do is to water your plant thoroughly. You want to do this the night before if possible, but at least a couple hours before you divide it to make sure the plant's fully hydrated. This will help reduce transplant shock and help your plant establish quickly after you divide it. Next thing I'm going to do is to remove the plant from the pot carefully. This plant has a lot of new shoots and I just want to be careful not to damage or destroy any more of those than I have to. Let's bring this root ball a little closer to take a look at. There's a couple of reasons you might want to divide a bamboo. One, when the shoots get to the edge of the container like this, it's just run out of room to grow. So we need to give it more area, put it in a bigger container, or divide it. The other thing that's going on here is the roots have spread to the edge of the container and there's no soil for them to absorb water and nutrients from. They can't grab that from plastic, so we need to do some work here and give these roots some potting soil to move into so they can properly uptake the water and nutrients they need to grow and be vigorous. For the actual division of the plant, I use a tool called the Sawzall. This is battery operated, so I don't have to drag a cord around. And I use a Skill wood printing blade. It's very sharp and it works better than any of the other reciprocating blades that I've tried. And what I'm going to do now is to first slice off all of these woody, kind of dry, old roots at the bottom of the root ball. They're not productive and they're just going to take up space in the pot. And by trimming them, I'm going to stimulate a lot of new root growth. So you can see I just cut a wafer of old root off the bottom here. Next thing I want to do is to find the best spot to cut this plant where I'm going to destroy the least number of shoots. And since I have a lot of really nice new growth over here, I'm going to avoid that. Just going to kind of find my way through the middle here, cut this plant in half. And normally I wouldn't divide a plant while it's shooting, but for demonstration purposes this will work just fine. Instead of cutting it into 4 or 5 pieces, I'll just divide it in half and be careful, and hopefully none of these shoots will abort and the plant won't suffer too much. When I do this, I cut from the bottom toward the top. I try not to cut all the way through because sometimes that blade will find its way to a natural point and I can kind of push it apart and break it, separate it without destroying all the shoots with the blade. Sometimes. And I can use these pruners to snip apart the last of the roots. And I have a plant that's been divided into 2 divisions. Even though I've cut this plant in half, I'm still going to put it into a larger container. That's going to give me a lot more room for the roots to grow into over the growing season. And the plant will just be more vigorous and grow a lot faster. Plus it'll give me that much longer before I have to go through this process again. But see, I'm putting a little bit of potting mix into the bottom of the container first. Give something for the roots to grow into on the bottom of the container. And what I'm using for potting mix here is a product called GrowCo, which is a mix of finely ground sawdust and biosolids. And I prefer using an organic product like this that already has some nutrient charge in it, so I don't have to use a chemical fertilizer on top of it. Now I want this plant to be just a little bit below the top of the container. So I want to have a little lip in there that'll hold the water so that it can soak down into the potting soil without running over the top. about the right height. And I place the plant in the center of the pot. I don't want the root ball up against the plastic. It just defeats the whole purpose of this process. I always go around the perimeter of the root ball and I push the potting mix down toward the bottom of the container to remove all the air pockets. And I just shake this loose stuff off the top of the crown. And I'm finished. The last thing you want to do, always after dividing or up potting, is to water your plant in thoroughly. Also, put your plant in a protected area where it's out of the hot sun and wind for at least 3 weeks. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to learn more about bamboo, you can check out my blog at www.halfsidebamboo.info. I'll see you in the next video.